So I have the loudest damn keyboard on earth. Probably it's this. It's all mechanical, so it just makes noise, and I hate it. I used to have a membrane keyboard, and it was quiet, like super smooth. I could type really quickly on it. Did make this clicky. I know some people really enjoy that kind of tactile feedback, but it just creates this additional layer of noise that's so pronounced. Like you can hear it over video games, like when you're playing with, headphones.
Yeah, some people prefer that, apparently.
And I get it, like it does feel nice for a little while. I just miss my membrane keyboard. I don't know why I let the marketing talk me out of getting another one. It was really good marketing. It's like, oh yeah, 10 million key presses over the life of the. If I was really worried about that, I'd be using Dvorak, and I'd have a really dedicated keyboard that was designed for that kind of stuff. Those psychotic typists who can push 300 words per minute in Dvorak.
Well, and it's like, if your job depends upon typing, that's one thing. But if typing is just a part of your job, it doesn't necessarily make sense to spend a ton on the keyboard. Whereas, yeah, if somebody's typing 300 words per minute, and it's like, in that, I feel like if somebody types 300 words per minute, they don't do that all the time.
Oh no, that's like a burst speed.
Right. And even then, it's like they're going to coast most of the time, just in that if you don't know what you're going to say, you're not going to be speaking 300 words per minute, let alone typing 300 words per minute.
Yeah.
So I think there's an element of that person, like you said, they only need it in bursts, so it doesn't really become something where they have to, if you're going to wear out a keyboard in the course of 12 months, it doesn't really make sense to pay extra to get 6 extra months out of it.
And having to selectively replace that one row of keys all the time. I think that's the part that gets me, is that I know that I'm going to wear the space bar out a lot faster than I'm going to wear out, I don't know, P. Backhack. I rarely use backhack anymore. I had a membrane keyboard for over a decade. It never got weird until I dropped something on it, and I'm pretty sure it cracked one of the PC boards inside of it, but it was great, and it was silent.
That durability is another benefit of the mechanical.
Yeah.
In that I just dropped mine. I just bought it. And I got a 4-year warranty on it, but I dropped it from 5 feet on accident.
When you're moving
because I tripped on something, and I picked it up and shook it, and literally nothing came loose.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, no, this thing's robust. It's got an aluminum deck, and it weighs a ton. It would probably hurt me if it fell on my foot, kind of thing. It has all the features that I want, of course, programmability and a scroll wheel type thing for volume control, media controls, that kind of stuff. But it's so loud.
But that clicking does get annoying. At first, it makes you feel like you're accomplishing things because there's that sonic feedback. It's like, oh yeah, I'm fucking Jessica Fletcher. I'm I'm a writer now. And it totally gives you that air of this is important. Whatever I'm typing right now is important, and it's just some shit posting But it's like, yeah.
Not even shit posting, just like entering search terms. Then,
Right.
and then waiting for Google's AI to interpret it so it can try to answer my query the best way possible instead of just giving me a bunch of stuff related to those terms. I find myself waiting on AI to return information because it won't show me the top links anymore. I have to look at the AI overview first. And then I go to a website and it's like, will you identify the buses in these pictures or motorcycles or street lamps? AGI is not going to happen if they're still asking for that shit. It just won't. Please identify the train. There are no trains in this image.
Well, and it's, I think AGI was always a fool's errand. Um, and looking back at it, there were too many people involved in the discussion that had no idea of the things about which they spoke. And there was this basically religion created around the notion of the emergent singularity. Um, before this has to be put in the context of there's still no agreed upon origin of sentience or true definition of the point at which sentience becomes um life, in that Sophia got declared sentient life by Saudi Arabia, but it's like how is a very
Sophia became
young
a joke in Big Bang Theory.
right? I mean, Sophia was
Like,
always a joke.
I know,
Sophia was
but
a female presenting robot that was created by a man, so it was always inherently a paradoxical joke that no one should have ever taken seriously. And I think the way it was presented by the media was partially because the current generation of humans it lacks the emotional intelligence and the quotient intelligence to discern when they're just looking at autocomplete or if they're looking at a full-on mechanical Turk. Um, and it's the same thing with Watson. So we've had these pseudo AGI appearing algorithms operating in the public eye in the past, and again, it's like those things amounted to effectively nothing, did not get a return on investment for any of their creators, and in the process I think they showed that this chase was always like a philosophical dead end. Um, you didn't necessarily have to go to that dead end to know that. If I feel like if anyone had synthesized the science fiction that's been written in the past 30 years or 40, it's pretty obvious that trying to create a machine god was never actually going to work for various reasons. The biggest reason is that capitalism cuts corners. So you're never going to get to AGI cutting corners. That's just not going to happen. Or anything remotely close to AGI. And further,
super
AGI
intelligence by the lowest bidder.
exactly. That's not how that works. But even in that context, AGI it it operates under this notion that generalization is better than specialization, which is demonstrably false. And in that it's not that specialization can't be outdone, but the only way specialization can be outdone is by combining specialists in multiple areas, not by a generalist or generalization. And so this is also where, in those contexts, general intelligence is why like the degree with no major was never held in the same esteem as a degree with a major. And it's not that a person who didn't declare a major didn't have the capacity or wasn't as smart as someone who declared a major. It's that general ed is not seen as um it's not seen as a jack of all trades. It's seen as someone who could not decide on something in which to specialize. And so those two things, as a contrast, it's not that in some world a gen ed degree could be a jack of all trades where you get actually more education in a variety of fields than a specialist, but that's not how it works. And that's why it's not held in a higher, again, there is a way in which a gen ed degree could be held in a higher esteem than a specialization degree, but that's not how any university, to my knowledge, operates. But I think that's where minors come in, or double majors. So it's like a person who double majors or has a major and a minor is superior to someone who only has one major in the eyes of basically everyone. Not that they're smarter, it's that they have more demonstrable proof of at least exposure to those curricula.
I kept reading about concentrations coming out of like top tier schools, like people talking about they would concentrate in something instead of talking about majoring. I thought that was a really interesting shift. I mean, that of course goes beyond undergraduate. That's like they concentrate on something well into their graduate studies.
Well, and I think people can have both.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's just like that's like a lingo level thing.
Right. It's like, yeah, you can have a major and then have a concentration that is more specific within that major. But that's also post interdisciplinary push where there was an attempt to create more interdisciplinary studies, but it didn't get enough time to evolve before it was effectively declared like a failed effort, only because now academia is beholden to business ROI schedules rather than having the focus be progressive education and evolving education and research.
I think interdisciplinary study for people who have the aptitude and the determination to do it, but I think that there's always going to be a portion of the student body that's not on that trajectory. They're just not interested in that. They just want to get their business degree and go inherit the office in the corner. Which I'm sure has its own like levels of complexity that I have zero awareness of, and that all the weird stresses and anxieties involved with it that I don't want to understand either.
Apparently, eBay's servers are down.
And the whole internet's been acting really weird for the past week. Every time I check my speeds on a variety of speed tests, it's always great. Like, oh yeah, cool, I'm getting great speed. Then why the hell is YouTube taking forever? Why does Amazon of all things like taking forever to run properly? Actually,
Right? It feels like the AI and shitification of everything has come to a head, and all of the websites are breaking down.
it's more important that their AIs answer dumb questions. Inane activity is more important now than providing services. I swear this AI FOMO crap is like the worst. Like, there's nothing that anyone is actually missing out on. It's like nothing good is coming from this weird push to make it a service, not even a service, a weird video game, a weird consumption video game. I am entertained by some of the videos I see, though. I saw a series of images of Doc Brown and Marty McFly basically being Rick and Morty, and that was fun.
Well, and it's like,
but you can't make a whole show out of that. That was like,
no, exactly.
That was like 20 seconds of like, oh, that's a cool what if, but that's not an entire.
But it's not, and I think this is also where what you just went through doesn't come to the conclusion that it's supposed to, like, in that, because it's briefly funny and then you move on to something else, you never actually fully come to the conclusion like, oh, it's too self-referential to actually become anything but a 20-second joke, because Rick and Morty were already Doc Brown. And
yeah. No, that's the thing. Like by the time it's over, it's like, yeah, this was fun. This is like a one-time thing, though. There's no replay value in that. Like, none of it has replay. All the weird like analysis or dissections that are all have the same AI voice. All of that stuff is garbage. I can read Reddit myself. That's the other thing I keep thinking.
So, and this is also where it's like, there are certain things that there's like different levels of complexity in ideas, and some ideas are just like amoeba level and some are cuttlefish level, and the cuttlefish level obviously can be mined for like full seasons of a TV show, whereas like Girth Brooks, funny name, you can't make a TV show about Girth Brooks though. Like it's just like a one-off, like, oh, Garth Brooks, Girth Brooks, that's a funny name. Like you can't take it any further than that, because it's amoeba level complexity. But you're not supposed to try to like go put it like, what if Girth Brooks did a concert tour, like, and then AI feeds that, and then it becomes this like way farther than it's meant to go.
I would rather see Eddie Hall put on a cowboy hat and do a bunch of country karaoke.
But even then, it's not even supposed to go that far. Like,
I know, but
it's like,
but I would rather watch him. I would rather watch him do that than the AI. If we're gonna create some, I'm not even sure what.
But then it would, like, and then 20 seconds in, you're like, okay, this was not.
It's not a good idea.
Dressing up as Garth Brooks to make a Girth Brooks joke, like, it's. Then this is also where there's supposed to be, I think, the way that people bring up ideas as jokes, and then the good ones eventually evolve into like skits, and the better skits evolve into TV shows or movies. It's like The Ladies Man should not have become a movie. It never was actually that, the plot was never that deep. Wayne's World, no. Like the nostalgia effect makes people more inclined to forgive.
I'm trying to think of any Saturday Night Live skit that transitioned into becoming a movie that made any was.
Didn't make any sense, right? It's like, no, like that MacGruber, maybe. But even then, MacGruber's like, it gets old after, like it ruins the point if you go past the explosion, and then it's like, okay, what are we doing here? Like this is not, this is no longer MacGruber. This is like half Mission Impossible, half something else, but it's no longer MacGruber. And I think that's where there's room for other things to emerge, like that.
I think the problem with MacGruber is that once it goes past the skit length, it starts becoming an actual MacGyver episode.
Exactly.
Like it can't not become a MacGyver episode. It's just there's no way to tell that story for that length of time without crossing into MacGyver territory, like actual MacGyver territory. Even if they're trying to be cynical or satirical, it's always going to end up in that same space.
Which is then it's really an A Team of One show.
But he's like not even the B team. He's like the D team. It's like, oh, everyone's dead. Who we got left? MacGruber. Oh, fuck, send him in.
Well, and then okay, but this is also, I don't know how many things you've gone back and watched where you're like, as a kid, it blew your mind, but then as an adult, you're like, what the fuck nonsense mishmash of ideas is this? Because it doesn't make any chronological sense. It doesn't make any emotional sense. None of this stuff makes any sense. But like, it works because it's a talking car or whatever, or like,
that stuff makes more sense if we understand that everyone's extremely intoxicated. Like there's cocaine is in the air and alcohol pours from the tap, like the faucet tap, not just like a tap at a bar, but they're all completely like just out of their gourds, and that's the only way that these stories can make sense.
That's what it feels like. That's exactly what it feels like. Went to the dentist and there was a TV playing, Middle America stuff, and its show was literally called The Middle, and I didn't know it at the time. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, this feels like a fucking Malcolm in the Middle ripoff. And then you find out the show is literally called The Middle, and it's like, it feels, the whole thing is shot like a fucking insurance ad or like a Hallmark TV show ad, like an ad between Hallmark TV shows, but it's a sitcom that is meant to take place in Indiana.
You have a fictional town of Orson based on Jasper.
But it's like, I'm not trying to tell anyone to watch it. I only was subjected to it, but it's so fucking weird. It's like the jokes are so inoffensive.
It ran for 9 seasons.
Yeah.
24 episodes per season. What the?
Right? And it's like, it's who was watching this shit for 9 fucking seasons, man? It feels like nobody, and they made this. This feels like one of those things where they are putting money into it, whether it's the CIA or whoever, to keep this notion of how things are and how things are supposed to be. And it's like, it's literally like background media that nobody I've ever known in my life watched, as far as I know. But then the way it was on for like 9 seasons, it's like you would think it's part of American culture. It probably ran almost as long as Malcolm in the Middle. But it's like everybody knows Malcolm in the Middle because it was just ubiquitous. But even then,
Malcolm in the Middle only ran for 7 seasons.
Whoa, it ran longer than Malcolm in the Middle. That's crazy. Um, but then the notion of cultural
It also
ubiquity.
started after Malcolm in the Middle. 2 years later.
This to me is where it feels like being known doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't help. It doesn't translate into anything. Um, in that something that is not as known ran for longer. So how how did being more ubiquitous benefit Malcolm in the Middle over the Middle? It didn't, apparently. Like, that doesn't make any fucking, I mean, none of it makes any sense, but the way that fame is presented and the way that being in the public eye is meant, or it's framed as if it somehow has a benefit and people should want to be famous or want to be known, apparently not. Which, I personally have not had any inclination, but I think that the youth are starting to move away from it on some angles. But if you look at the ones that are chasing it at any cost, it feels like that's all the kids. But in reality, it's like it's a very diverse demographic spread as far as how many kids want to be famous versus how many just absolutely do not want to be famous.
How many TV shows are on the air in 2026? Hundreds. Won't even give me an actual number. Google doesn't know. It knows that there are hundreds, though. Who has time to watch hundreds of shows?
Well, and it's like you find out. So Joel McHale, for example, he has like 4 TV shows right now. Like seriously, I'm not even exaggerating. And it's like it sounds like it would be fucking made up. As far as there's no way that one person has 4 TV shows being in
Like actively being produced.
exactly in the same year. Like no, yeah, he does.
1, 2, 3, at least 3 right now.
It was Animal Control. I forget he listed it off. Fucking.
Oh, they're just not
1%.
updated on his IMDb then. Looks like Strip Law, Animal Control. I bet is Yellow Jackets going to be renewed?
1% Club, House of Villains. I think is still. Oh no, that's canceled.
Man, that guy.
Oh, The Bear. I think it's still running.
According to TV Line, there are over 200 scripted series on television in 2026 across broadcast, cable, and streaming.
Oh, Card Sharks.
They give me a list, but they won't tell me an actual number.
Well, because then it's gonna. There has to probably be qualifiers because then it's like, are you talking about network, cable?
Yeah, broadcast, cable, and streaming. okay, I'm gonna plug this into a spreadsheet so I can just get a number.
Then streaming is gonna be like so much more because of Tubi alone.
Delete row. Okay.
Because then, yeah, it's so weird. Like, does something that's on Apple TV count as being on TV just because they call it TV?
This is just ones that are, I think, that are in production or were in production recently. Because I think if you count everything that's syndicated, that's like thousands, tens of thousands of shows at this point. Especially when we start thinking about like everything that's being imported.
Well, but then should you count syndicated TV shows in this as the same as something that is new this year?
No, this is a renewal, fate to be determined, return date known, or like has been renewed list. This is a cool list. I just need to filter out all this crap because I don't care about blank rows, and there's a ton of them for some reason. Like the formatting of this list survived somehow. Almost there. Okay. 216 shows that either were new last year, have a return date, have been scheduled for release this year, or a fate to be determined. Or they're in their final season. Like The Way Home on the Hallmark Channel.
More accurate.
So 216, that's still a lot.
Oh no, for sure. That's a lot of productions and a lot of schedules to coordinate, a lot of production teams.
It's like $250 million per show, probably. Like, yeah, for each episode for this entire list, at least. Yeah, there's 2 Walking Deads, Daryl Dixon and Dead City.
Well, and I know there was at least a couple other spinoffs that must have been canceled.
Yeah, there's some that are definitely a fate TBD, return date TBD. Like Reacher has return date TBD, and I know that one's got another season coming. They just don't know. They haven't announced when. But Ponies, fate TBD. I don't even know what that show is. Oh, I know what that show. That's the show about the young women in Cold War era Germany or something like that, and they get into a lot of trouble. That show wasn't very good. Man, how long has It's Always Sunny been on the air?
God, is that still going?
It's on 17 seasons since 2005. Season 18 has been wrapped up as of this last month, and it's going to be back. So, but that's a show that kind of writes itself in the moment, or it feels that way sometimes.
Well, and again, it's like the things that they had to start doing for Mac's character to keep the show interesting, it got old. So that's where I'm like, who's still watching? I can't fathom watching Always Sunny for 18 seasons. That's so much Dennis. That's so much fucking Sweet D.
That's so much Frank.
So much Frank. Does anybody need that? I guess someone does, but Jesus Christ.
Let's
Who are these
see.
people that need that much Dennis?
When was the Nightman episode? Season 4 finale. I think that's the last episode of that show I watched. When they did the stage show for Nightman. That's the last one I remember.
Dog, when you're watching a TV show that is doing a play inside the TV show, that's the point at which everyone needs to move on.
That's like
You're already one step removed.
I decided that was the best place to exit that show. I have not gone back.
That's why I skipped the fucking holodeck episodes where they're doing plays. It's like, dog, I came here to watch somebody in space, not a fucking android pretend to be goddamn Sherlock Holmes. That's not why I'm here. I'm not here to fucking watch a Klingon pretend to be a goddamn cowboy. Sorry, not interested. That's too far removed. I want them in space.
We're already watching a Klingon being a cowboy in space. Why does he have to be a cowboy in the holodeck?
I don't need fucking Cisco to play baseball. No. Sorry, that's whack.
It would have been really cool though if Cisco had like a really mean curveball and he used it to like knock out Garrick from around a corner or something, or just somebody. That would have been cool if they'd have woven that into the story, but that never happened.
Well, he
had so many opportunities to throw a baseball and just like clock somebody. They could have made that.
Punched Q.
That's
when
true.
They like were in a old school boxing. This again, it's like it had to be fucking old boxing, and at least he got one off on Q where it's like, man, that was probably Cisco's best moment. I want to say, because Picard would never.
But that was like
Picard's problem.
That was like the first taste of Cisco being a quantum entity.
Right, yeah, for sure. The time he punched a god.
They didn't learn any lessons from Deep Space Nine or Voyager when they made this last batch of Star Trek. The only thing they learned is that they had to reboot the Pike era. It's really disappointing. I tried to go back and watch some Discovery, and it's just like painful. And I don't know.
Discovery is so bad. I wanted to like it. I watched, I think, 2.5, maybe 3 seasons, but like, it's just so bad.
The best episodes are the ones that have Pike in it.
Right, yeah.
And even then, the whole time, it's like, why aren't we watching him on the Enterprise? This is stupid.
And why is Michael always looking like she's about to cry? And why is a woman named Michael? Like, it just does stuff for... Some of the stuff just felt like, man, this was a decision that somebody made, and this was a stupid, very stupid fucking decision. Like,
oh yeah, it's like a total Admiral Akbar moment. It's a trap. It wasn't, it could have been, they could have called it Space 2099 and it would have made just as much sense.
Like,
the course correction with Strange New Worlds is like, that was smart and good job, guys. But even that's like running real close to this, like, we know where this ends. Like, how are you actually going to get us there? Kind of position where I want more. I want it to resolve and make sense. So when they finally reboot the original storyline with Kirk and Spock and all them, like, that it makes sense. Because they don't have to reinvent the wheel, and they don't have to like do a perfect replication of the wheel. They can make their own damn wheel. But
this is just making me think of the if when Next Generation had started and they go through the intro and the captain doing the space monologue and all that, and it's like, my name is Captain Jessica Picard, and like nobody addresses it and everybody just moves on, like wait a minute, is Jessica like a dude's name now? And everybody just pretends like nothing happened, and just, that's what I'm like, why? You don't have to be Michelle. You don't have to call her Michelle. Call her something else. Call her fucking Axe. Fucking Sword. I don't give a fuck. But Michael, why? Like, suddenly, like, this is Justin. Fucking Kevin over here. Like, okay, is
hello,
Kevin
my name
a
is Celine.
woman's name now? Nope, we're not gonna address it. This is just Kevin. Like, what the like, it's not even that big of a deal, but in tandem with everything else, it becomes like an unnecessary decision that it draws you out and makes you unable to get immersed in the story, because then it's like, why does everybody have fucking imposter syndrome? You all went through fucking Starfleet Academy, so you're all questioning yourselves constantly. Fuck out of here with that. I don't want.
They never would have been allowed
people
out of like the lower decks with that kind of attitude.
Yeah. With even the lower decks, these are if you're a Marine that is cleaning a fucking ship while somebody else is piloting the plane, you're still a fucking Marine at the end of the day. So that attitude of, I get the lower decks is funny, but those people didn't have imposter syndrome. If anything, they were like overinflated sense of self. So it's like, you know what I
But
mean?
they were also all worthy of being bridge crew. That was also the lesson of that show.
That everybody in Starfleet is. That's part of the issue.
Yeah, no, that's the lesson of that show. Even the lower decks are bridge crew. They got on that ship for a reason. I agree completely. Like half the time with Discovery, I'm asking myself, how did these people even make it onto a starship? How did they make it?
Well, but
how did they make it past their final examinations?
Harry Kim was an ensign in fucking season 1
the whole time.
Basically, yeah, like, but he was on the bridge the whole fucking time because they had no choice. So I think there's these things are in most of the Star Trek shows, but it's also like, obviously everyone doesn't watch everything, and I get that, but the way then that Discovery, it basically was like, we're gonna do our own thing, down to now the Klingons are, I don't know what the fuck they are, like this
lobster people.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that was. Looking more like Ferengi, really.
Maybe that's how they'll retcon it. You know, the problem that I had initially was that it didn't resolve the world that had to exist before the original series timeline begins, because they're like coming out at the end of this big galactic war. Everything's screwed up. Humanity's really only been flying around space for a little while in the big picture. It should be a lot more militarized than they presented it. Like if you watch Enterprise, if you can get past the hokey crap intro song and ignore a lot of the dialogue, and they paint a very bleak picture of what humanity was like in the early years. Like, it was a much more militarized operation. They didn't have time for people's feelings. Very few people died on Archer's Enterprise. I think he has the lowest death count of all of the captains, which is also messed up. And another reason that I reject Enterprise, more people should have died simply because humans didn't know what they were doing, and they were dealing with like an armada or an
Well, they
empire.
got Vulcan help though.
That's true. They still didn't know what were doing. The Vulcans didn't trust him enough. They're like, no, we have to send a science officer with you to make sure you don't blow up our technology. I can't stand the theme song for that show, though. I actually don't consider that to be part of Star Trek, 'cause that's like pre-Starfleet. And then they only kind of insinuate that he was a part of the formation of Starfleet at the end because of one of Riker's holodeck adventures where he's talking to... I can't even remember the dude's name. It doesn't matter. It's a holodeck episode.
Those are the worst. I mean,
I do like the holodeck. No, there's one where Barclay like makes the holodeck, it takes over the holodeck because of the weird moon face mask thing, and the whole ship gets taken over. That was a good episode. But that's like outside of the holodeck. That's like the holodeck gone completely haywire, doing all sorts of shit you don't want it to do.
But I'm realizing it's the same thing as watching a fake person play a video game for however long you watch it. Like,
oh man, that's
yeah,
dark.
it's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And that's why I knew there was something about it that like really rubbed me the wrong way. But now that I realize what it is, it's like
watching a fake person.
I barely watch my own video game streams. Like I enjoy watching game streams, but I'm not about to watch a fucking fake person game stream. No, I'm not gonna do that.
I only watch the heavily curated game streams where it's like, hey, check out this. Like, this is the baddest 10 seconds of the 14 hours this person put into beating this game. 10 seconds.
And there's no actual stakes because it's fake? No, I'm not doing that. Like that episode where there's like the guy with the saggy face that comes in and they're playing, I think it's Damjot is the name of the game, and he beats Data because he's cheating. And it's like,
oh, they have the weird finger things and
yeah. It's like I barely want to watch that, and I might even skip the fucking scene just because I'm not about to watch. Like, I don't want to watch James Bond play fucking Baccarat or whatever because it's not real. So I'm not gonna watch a real person play these games. So I'm not gonna watch a fake person do it. And then the idea that it obviously is filler, but the way that they use it to then add filler to stories, it's like, man, I see what you guys are doing, which is why I'm fucking skipping it now. I couldn't skip it when it was on TV, and I had to sit through it then, but I'm not gonna sit through this bullshit now. Not gonna do it.
Okay, I just had to find out if Baccarat was invented for James Bond. Apparently, it was created sometime in the 15th century in Italy. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was just contrived for the movie or the stories.
Well, and it's just funny. We've been watching Psych, and the episode we happened to watch yesterday was about drag racing, and then we watch all kinds of racing. So like watching drag racing after the episode is one thing, but if we had watched the drag racing before, it would have been more irritating because, you know, it's obviously not real, and there's all this stuff that's not real about it. Like he fucking put nitrous in like a 86 Ford Ranger or some shit, and it didn't blow up. Like, so it's like the fact that it didn't blow up is like, you're already okay. I'll suspend disbelief, but it would have been funnier if flames had shot out in the interior and then you guys both caught on fire or some shit.
It's not
and it didn't work.
It would probably work one time. if it wasn't like built up for it, but definitely wouldn't work twice.
Well, and then in the gag, the brakes go out, and then they hit a fence and immediately like stop. But it's like, no, that fence would not have stopped it that much. Like, it's just when you know too much, then you can't enjoy things that are meant to exploit people's lack of gaps in knowledge. And I think I think enough Americans knew things about guns that they literally had to start changing gun culture in movies and TV shows, because after a while Americans were like, "You didn't reload. I counted the bullets." And it's like, that's the only thing that can fucking count.
I think they got enough complaints about the way that actors are holding guns. So nobody holds their gun like that.
Right, that type of shit.
Yeah.
That's the type of shit that breaks Americans' immersion. Is like how someone's holding a gun or how many shots got fired, like without reloading.
Nobody would configure their duty belt like that. You can't reach anything like, intuitively.
He hasn't oiled his fucking hammer. I know an unoiled hammer.
Yeah, I think that's why I like science fiction, is because they can play fast and loose with things. You don't need to hold the gun right. The gun aims itself. You just have to hold it in the right direction, and it decides what it's shooting at. Because, AI.
Well, and that's where I've started to. There's science fiction, and then there's good science fiction, and then there's fantasy, and then there's good fantasy. And I feel like over time, I've started to appreciate the thing that makes something good isn't whether it explains the science or not. And it's almost
better if it doesn't.
better if it, exactly. And so that's kind of where
The story should inform the audience of what's going on and how it's happening, but it shouldn't have to tell anything. That's the problem.
Well, and that's where, again, the science should be accurate, but the story doesn't need to bring it up, and it doesn't need to address it, and it doesn't need to explain it for it to be good. And this is where, like, understanding how Frank Herbert came up with Dune, it explains why the story's good, but then it also explains where bad, or not bad, adaptations that miss the point try to explain too much. And I think that's where knowing what Frank Herbert was trying to synthesize with the science into a story, then that's where I'm like, oh, this is how you teach people informally without letting them know that you're teaching them anything, but also they can enjoy themselves for completely different reasons, which is a skill that most people don't. I don't think many people ever actually attain that skill, but that's also why there's only one Frank Herbert, and his son couldn't really
Yeah, that's why that
do
whole
the same shit.
That universe starts to fall apart if you read too long, and like not like through the narrative, just it starts to fall apart. I think some stories are supposed to end. I think that's the other thing, that the lesson that's lost in time is that with every subsequent sequel or prequel or textbook to explain the prehistory of the story universe or whatever they have to create, eventually we end up with this kind of, it's just a buffet at that point. But there's no beginning, middle, or end. You can have your dessert right at the gate, and then go and figure out how you got to it. Where the meat of the story actually is. Like the lists of how to watch Star Wars in chronological order or in release order, or the same thing with MCU. You can choose your own adventure practically. You can completely ignore the Marvels if you want to, and still enjoy Thor.
Which is a benefit and a curse at the same time.
Fucking 40 plus. I don't even know how many there are. Like 48 now.
Well, in that so many people didn't see the Marvels that they didn't know that the Marvels had fucking brought the Fox characters in.
37 feature films, and that's not including all of the series stuff. Like
Basically, you shouldn't because they barely do.
Yeah.
That's what's fucking so infuriating about it is the way that they just play fast and loose with the canon. I don't know if you watch Daredevil, but it's like they'll do things
76.6 hours now. If you include the show, the Disney Plus show specials and shorts, it's 166 hours.
It's like they'll do the whole Daredevil show and not explain where the fucking Thunderbolts are, or anybody else for that matter. There's like 20,000 powered people in New York, and fucking all this shit's going on in the Daredevil season, and they explain where like two or three of them are, and not even really powerful ones like the Swordmaster or whatever, and fucking White Tiger.
These are the only guys who are available that week.
I mean, fucking Frank was barely there. I think he showed up once. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, Frank? Are you busy? You can't save New York from basically being destroyed. Okay, sure, that makes sense. I'm just frustrated that like at some point I thought that the MCU had a plan, but it's become painfully aware to me that there's not only no plan, that it's just like they do whatever is um not even popular. They do what is on their mind at the moment. It's not with a future plan. It's not with a, oh, this is what we did in phase 3 and 4 that we were setting up. There's so many videos with,
how long till we get a young Tony Stark series?
I mean, I don't think
it exists, but like it wouldn't be far fetched for them to do something fucked up like that.
I mean, I don't know if they're gonna retread Tony Stark. I mean, they may, but it's more so like there are so many videos of unresolved MCU plots that I I don't know how they can like start anything new without resolving the 78 hours worth of shit that they set up and haven't resolved yet. Like, what's going on with the fucking Eternal in the ocean? It's just sitting there. They got some adamantium off of it.
Oh, that's right. There's the Eternal's Judgment, that thing, the 10 Rings Beacon, the Knight's Blade from Blade, the Black Knight's Blade.
Fucking Blade.
All the
Blade's
Council of
movie's
Kings.
Canceled. They had a whole movie
White
set
Vision,
up and canceled.
The Venom symbiote series or a storyline no one knows what to do with.
Dog, how hard is it to write a fucking vampire killing movie?
Hercules versus Thor, Scorpion and Spider-Man.
You would think that Blade as a character sucks because of the way that they set it up and couldn't deliver anything, let alone this being one of the coolest characters of all time.
Yeah, what's not to like about a dude that kills vampires? And there's still scrolls, the Moon Knight, Wakanda, the Namor stuff. They've easily got like 20 more years worth of stories to explore without resolving everything they've already started. That's just to wrap up the stuff they've already started and get it to a point where they can like now approach a conclusion. We're going to be like 70 something years old before they finish up this nonsense. I don't know if can pay attention for that long.
I can't. It's amazing how much they've made me like not like the MCU.
Yeah, I when I see something MCU now, it's like, huh, when did that come out? Oh, this is recent. Oh. Somehow I've completely missed their marketing. I think that's a good thing.